Hello, this is William Toel speaking to you. If we really want to understand what is happening in Ukraine today, we must go back to the period of 1989 to 1992. Now, this is not a pro-Putin, anti-Putin argument. Well, that is a propaganda technique of labeling. The only possible solution will come from having objective truth. The Soviet Union was doomed to fail. It needed a major reorganization that could not be done within the rigidity of the Communist Party. Well, when it did suddenly collapse, it was chaos. The U.S. and the British private sectors saw some of the world's richest resources, whose potential was still mostly untapped or inefficiently utilized. Nearly every one of the top conglomerates in the world, including the largest banks, sent teams of people racing to the obvious profit opportunities. Well, you could not find a hotel room in Russia. Every CEO, CFO, and merger and acquisition specialist, including an army of business consultants, arrived in a feeding frenzy, with each trying to beat the other to the hidden riches now laid bare. There was no authority in Russia to hinder them. Well, it was as if a magnificent old country house, full of riches and valuable antiques, was suddenly abandoned, and a mob descended upon the house, pushing and shoving until everything of value was stripped away. Bribery was rampant, and the deals made one day were superseded by deals made the next day. Well, in retrospect, this was one of the most shameful episodes in Western history. A huge and embarrassing mistake. One that was very predictable, giving the vulture, shark-eat-shark capitalism taught and practiced at that time. It seemed too good to be true. A chance to destroy forever the hated and feared arch-enemy of the Cold War, and to get very rich at the same time. Now, there was no thought of future consequences. Only a mad rush to grasp wealth before someone else did. Well, this is the background for Putin's oft-stated grievance against the West, always instantly branded as a liar or fabrication. You never hurt a person when they are on the ground. Whether it is grieving the loss of a loved one or an extreme illness, they never forget how they were treated. Like the Good Samaritan, it should be an opportunity to reach down and help them to their feet and get them started along the way to recovery. We need to take a step toward understanding. How does it benefit any of you to escalate threats and build resentment? There must be a solution other than a march towards nuclear war. Since 1945, the United States has created a global system in which it can influence and monitor almost the entire world. Using government agencies, global institutions, and private corporations, it has created a network linked together like electronic pods around the globe. Well, this system gives the U.S. carte blanche. It can do anything it wants in almost any country at any time. Now, unlike the Romans, who showed the face of brutal power, the U.S. shows the smiling face of Coca-Cola and Christianity. Well, churches in the U.S. have been the most consistent vocal supporters of U.S. wars and incursions. In 1991, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when Russia was flat on its back, the U.S. came in with the pretense of a helping hand. Instead, as she lay prostrate and vulnerable, Russia was raped. It has not been forgotten and is a key driving force behind the leadership of Russia today. Most of those Russians who are opposing Vladimir Putin now were not born yet, or too young at the time to understand and feel the impact of what happened. Since that time, the United States has held a superior attitude towards Russia and consistently poked and goaded the Russian bear. The attitude of disrespect is pervasive in the English-speaking world, and in every instance tries to force Russian people to submit and bend the knee. This is why Kiev is a bride that cannot be given over to others for abuse. Now, for a time, you can force people into submission, but when you do, you drive their beliefs deeper where they become stronger. Then they are always listening for a voice that will give them a release with immense power. This is where Putin gets his power, in Russia today, and it is why the West's plan to get rid of him will have little long-term effect. Putin has given the Russian people back their self-respect. What we see playing out today between the West and Russia is the same thing that happened twice in the 20th century, word for word and threat for threat, against Germany, who dared to be independent of the American and British control. Thank you for listening to me. This is William Toel.